Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for having me back on as well. I've been absent due to some things with injuries in my personal life, but thank you so much for bearing with us. Props to Braden for holding it all together in the time that I was gone as well. But today we're here to bring to you guys the Stock Watch, the series, as you know, where we review the players who raised or dropped their stock, based or not, maybe, on their performances over the weekend. We had a lot of action midweek as well for some of the guys. Straight to the point, and by the way, as a disclaimer, we're picking 5 each, so should be a good analysis. And at the end, we pick the players who we are going to keep on our watch for the week because they have interesting games. But straight to the point, first one to get a stock up or down, in your opinion, Braden?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with Johnny Cardoso for a stock up. I thought he was absolutely fantastic against Atletico Madrid. He's finally starting to re-cement himself as a locked-in starter for Real Betis. It was a little bit of a slow start to the season. I mean, he didn't really have much of a preseason since he was with the USMNT over the summer, and then obviously he had to get a vacation in, and he was kind of in and out of the starting lineup, playing as a backup, starting the European games against pretty low level opponents and then being on the bench in high level La Liga games. But now he's back, cemented himself into the starting lineup, and I think it was by far his best game of the season, probably one of his top 2 or 3 games for Betis in general, even including last season, which is saying something considering how good he was. I mean, all you just have to do is look on Twitter and see how much fans, not even of Real Betis, not even USMNT fans, are raving about him. People are saying if he was bought by Man City, he'd look like a bargain, which I think is a little bit extreme. But I think it was a real positive to see. Hopefully, honestly, at the end of the day, we need him to use this form for the USMNT because this stock up, stock down, none of it means anything if you don't perform for the national team. Like, it's cool to see them performing for their clubs, and it's great to see. I love watching our players perform at the highest level. But if you're not going to do it for the USMNT, at the end of the day, what's it all for, really? So hopefully he can continue his form up until the international break, get called in, and make a good first impression on Poch. Because remember, he wasn't in the first camp, so November should be his first opportunity to impress.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you need to start performing for your club to feel the confidence, at least, to perform for the national team. So definitely a much needed performance for him against a really good opponent as well. I know some people don't, they may watch us or look at app ratings, look at who he was playing against. So that's very impressive. The guy that I'm going to pick for a stock up, I think this is his first stock up. In this season, it almost became a running joke in the channel, but he got to stock up Tim Weah, and I'll be honest, watching the game, don't think he did anything necessarily brilliant, but the stars have aligned for him to come back into the pecking order right here and into the depth chart of Juve. Everyone's injured, everyone has slight knocks here and there, and he played in a position where I think, frankly, he should be playing. None of this nonsense of being played everywhere, and that also serves as a scapegoat and an excuse for when he doesn't perform. We need to analyze him for what he's going to be for the USMNT. Let's be honest, a winger, and he got a goal. So honestly, props to him for putting that away. Not a brilliant match by any means, but I think that it puts him back into the spotlight, especially for our fan base that is so app ratings driven. You get a goal, it's everyone, all eyes are on you, and get him right into the mix for the next camp. I think perhaps so. Stars aligned for him. Props to him for capitalizing on the chance. Brilliant match by Weston McKennie as well. For getting the 2 assists. Nothing too great during the match, but props regardless. Now the next one right here. Will it be another stock up, Baden?
Yeah, I actually decided to not pick McKennie for Stockwatch this week because, I mean, first off, I just want to say the fact that we have Americans contributing to 3 of the 4 goals for Juventus in a game against Inter Milan in a match that could ultimately decide the title in Serie A, the Scudetto, I think that's absolutely incredible. I mean, it just shows how far we've come. I will say, outside of the goal contributions for the respective players, I don't think they were actually too great. But, I mean, listen, they did what they needed to do most, and huge props to them. I mean, Weah only has 2 starts this season due to injuries, but he scored in both of them. So if he keeps getting starts, hopefully he keeps performing. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for my next player. It's going to be a stock down for Gabriel Slonina. I think the fact that people have been calling for him to be considered for the USMNT or to get a call up, see what the future is like, just shows how horrible our goalkeeper situation is, because the dude, instead of going on loan to Strasbourg, which would have been very viable. They sent Caleb Wiley on loan there, a fellow American. They ended up sending Georgi Petrovic, their goalkeeper from last season, on loan there. Chelsea did. But instead of going to Ligue 1, he goes to the other League One, the bad League One in England. So he goes to Barnsley, puts in some shocking performances, and finally gets benched this weekend. And his replacement keeps a clean sheet to put the cherry on top. Just really not great for Gaga Slanina. I think I made a pretty bold call when we did our 2026 roster predictions back over the summer. I left him off of the roster, and I have to say, I'm kind of liking that decision now because if he continues this trajectory, I do have faith that he'll get the spot back. I think this is just to show that he's not secure. Just wake him up a little bit, give him a wake up call. I have faith that he'll remain their starter for the majority of the season. But if he keeps putting in performances like this, maybe the benching will be for good. And even if it's not going to get Barnsley promoted. It's not going to do anything to convince clubs at a higher level to take a chance on him next season. So he really just needs to sort it out and quickly.
Yeah, honestly, I know a while back I said that I think the hype was mostly generated by his parent club, and you never want to see this happen. But yeah, not good for him. I think. Well, does he get back into the starting lineup? I don't know. I mean, they got a clean sheet right up there. Might ride the wave in the bench now, which is definitely not ideal. But moving on right here to my next pick, I'm going to continue the theme of a one up and one down. And again, this guy is not really due to him. He's injured, so I feel like it's a little harsh. But his performances for club weren't necessarily great so far. It's going to be Chris Richards, and it's mostly because I thought that Chalobah was amazing in the match. I mean, we know what he does, LaCroix. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm pronouncing like the drink here, but LaCroix, and I think Chalobah, they're on loan, obviously, but played so well. And it seems like Chelsea's players going on loan to Crystal Palace always works. So I think that for Richards, it may be tough to get back into the starting lineup because I don't know how severe the injury is. He's been out for a little bit, but a clean sheet against Tottenham definitely gets a London rival, gets the spirits up, and I just don't see. I think it'll be tough for him to get back into starting lineup immediately. And we always want our players, but it took him so long to get this chance to be a starter there. Hopefully he gets back into the starting lineup, but overall I think it might result in him getting decreased minutes at his club, which result, I mean, he's kind of a lock for us, but it's not ideal because we're in dire need for him to develop into a great center back. So that's my pick for the week on a stock down. Next one, Braden.
Yeah, let's not forget that that's Crystal Palace's first win of the season, which means that all the games that he was playing, they weren't winning, which isn't necessarily a fault on him completely, but it does play a role, right? So it's a little bit discouraging to see that, especially since there's nothing he can do about it, being out injured, but hopefully he comes back stronger than ever whenever he does return. And on a more positive note, my third pick is going to be another stock up, and it's going to be Haji Wright. I feel like he hasn't been picked for stock up as much as I was anticipating to start the season, but he's finally finding form. Scored midweek against QPR to basically effectively get a point for Coventry. He scored very early on, the 4th minute. They ended up drawing that game 1-1, and then scoring a dramatic late winner in a game against Luton Town over the weekend. Crazy game. I don't know if any of you guys watched that, but Luton went up 2-0. Coventry came storming back, ended up winning 3-2 thanks to a Haji goal in the 92nd minute. Crazy game, and it's just great to see Haji finally hitting form because he did get a goal contribution for the USMNT over the last break, and now he's finding his goal scoring form for Coventry. Finally, he's got 5 goals on the season already. So I think if he can continue this, I mean, realistically, last season was such an incredible debut. It'd be even hard to ask for more, but ideally that's what we want from him. We want him to push on, progress from last season, and prove that he keeps getting better. And if he does, he can play a crucial role for the USMNT because, I mean, you just talked about Tim Weah, but I think that role on the wing is really up for grabs, especially considering who started there in the last camp. Yunus Musa starting 2 games. Anyone can take that spot. So Haji being in form is much needed.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that never really got a real chance, really, with a sequence of even 2 games as a starter. So it's great for him to be backing it up in the championship to warrant a chance if he does get one in the future. Next stock up for me is going to be Tender Testament. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of his, and I thought that maybe after the international break, coming back and the manager saying that, well, we need to rotate, it would just kind of hamper. He didn't get that many minutes with the USMNT. I thought that he deserved a little bit more, perhaps, but I thought, well, maybe this halts his progress at his club, but it turns out I think things would look like they work for the better, because he started midweek for them against Besiktas, and I thought he was amazing in that match. I'll be honest, one of his best matches. I feel like he's picked up the pace. I think the pace has always been something I've been concerned with him, but he picked it up tactically, playing really well, and all the fans were saying that he shouldn't be removed from the starting lineup. I thought he was going to start in the bench this weekend, but no, he actually started the match as well again. Really happy for him to go the full 90 for the first time, and I thought he didn't look out of place at all. Leon should have won the game, but they're still right in the mix up there. That league is basically a mess. Everyone's within 3 points of each other. But I think that it's a very encouraging sign to see him getting a start, even with Matic back fit, so he could play the 8 or the 6. But overall, I'm really happy with his progress. I think this is what he needs in order to be in that conversation for the USMNT. Get consistent minutes, like we said. And if this is the new trend where he battles for a starting spot, that's really good for him. Good progress earlier than I expected to. So moving on to the next one.
Yeah, I have to say, watching both those games, it's incredible that Leon failed to win both of them. So many missed chances. And another thing, actually, quickly that I thought was cool was to see Tessman on set pieces in the game over the weekend. He wasn't taking them in the game against Besiktas, and they weren't really having much success. So I thought the fact that even as a 6 and 8, it's kind of unorthodox for him to go up and take corners, especially as a big guy. But he was doing it, and doing it somewhat successfully. So I thought that was cool. Now on to my next pick. On a more negative note, I'm going to pick another stock down, and it's going to be Taylor Booth. I feel kind of bad picking him because he just got back from, well, it's not even an injury, but he's been struggling for minutes the entire season. We know that he finally got his first start in a huge game for Utrecht. They were second, Feyenoord were fourth. At home, it's a massive game, and if you want to keep pace with PSV, which is going to be borderline impossible regardless, you have to win this game, especially at home, and they kind of just got outclassed. To be honest, Paxton Aronson for Utrecht looked like he was the only player even giving an effort who wanted to be there, and Booth in his first start looked like a ghost. It's just not what you want to see, and I feel like so many people just still see him in the national team picture just because he was before he had his run of injuries last season. And of course, he was part of the Olympics team. But then people ignore the fact that there was other players on the Olympic team who were starting over him and playing better for him and have been playing better for club. It's just a little bit mind-boggling to me. I think really Booth just needs a move. It sucks to say, but I think he just needs to leave Utrecht, get a fresh start somewhere. The injuries have kind of derailed his time there, and I think it's best for everyone if he just moves on. And one last thing I want to say on kind of an unrelated note, in that game, you guys know I'm a huge Philadelphia Union fan. I just want to give a huge shout out to Julian Carranza, the Argentine striker who scored for Feyenoord and then gave an amazing tribute to Holden Trent, our goalkeeper, who I don't know if you guys saw the news, tragically passed away earlier this week. So I just want to give a tribute to him as well. Rest in peace, Holden.
Yeah, very classy move to be playing in that league far away. I didn't even know because the goalkeeper wasn't a first team starter per se. So really nice to see Carranza give that tribute. Classy move by him. Condolences to the family as well. My next one is also involved in the Eredivisie, but it's a stock up. But I'll keep it short. Not much to say really. It was what PSV did what they do these days. They destroy the opposition. And Ricardo Pepi, hey, this is the type of match that I think you can tell that he has a future, perhaps as the future 9 for them, or they won't need to sign someone after De Jong hopefully someday hangs up his boots, because the team was working so well in chemistry with him. It's not only the goals. I think throughout the match he was working really well. It looked like he has good chemistry with his teammates, the runs, everything was very well coordinated, not as if you just pushed the guy there and he got 2 tap-ins and he was out of the game for most of it. No, I thought that he worked really well throughout the match, and that's encouraging for Pepi. Doesn't get many chances, so props to him for getting those 2 goals. Next one.
Yeah, I think it's huge for Pepi, and I think even some pundits now in the Netherlands are calling for him to start. Even Fabrizio Romano tweeted about him, saying that Pochettino's tracking his progress, which is like, I mean, of course he is. He's one of our only strikers. But, I mean, his goal rate, especially considering the minutes he played, we saw it last season, we're seeing it again this season. It's incredible. He started 2 games in the Eredivisie. Both of them have been braces. I don't know what more he needs to do. Hopefully he can at least start a little bit more consistently. Even if he's not the first choice in big games in the Champions League, just give him starts every other week in the Eredivisie, and he'll probably end up being in the Golden Boot race. But on to my final pick, and it's nice we're going to end it on a positive note. or at least I am. I guess you have one more pick left, so maybe you could spoil it. But I'm going to pick Santiago Castañeda, the 19-year-old CDM from Paderborn in the Zwei Bundesliga, the second division there. He got his first assist for Paderborn, and it was a crucial one, a game-winning assist for them late in the game to set up the winner, Sven Michel, against Cologne, who have an American, Damian Downs. He unfortunately missed the game due to a cold, which was kind of sucked because I wanted to see them play against each other. But Castaneda has been flying really under the radar this season. I try to prop him up as much as I can because I feel like he just doesn't get enough attention, and it's understandable a little bit considering how much depth we have at the six. But a teenager playing this well at such a level shouldn't go unnoticed, and it's nice that he's finally starting to draw a couple of eyes on him. And of course, the goal contribution is going to help. Great ball over the top as well, a little dink in. And I mean, hopefully they can just keep it up. I mean, they're up to third in the table now. If they can even continue to stay in a promotion race, I don't think it's unfair to say that he'll be looked at by some Bundesliga clubs, especially considering his age. So hopefully he can keep it up, and then who knows, maybe a USMNT call-up will come over the next year or two. I mean, we got to try some new players.
Hey, Aiden Morris started 2 games in a row for the USMNT. He's playing in second division of a top 5 country, so maybe, who knows, honestly. Not to bash on Morris, but the chance is there. So moving on right here to a negative note, as you predicted, is going to be Caleb Wiley. Again, not really it's not really his fault, but I don't think that he's putting Moreira out of the squad, or Nanazi, who plays everywhere. I just don't see how this loan is going to work out for Wiley. Seriously, don't think he's going to be starter. I think he might even struggle to get some sub minutes. I don't know. I just feel like for Strasbourg, maybe the step was a little bit too big, because he went from Atalanta to a mess of a club, really, that's going to be keep on lowering him everywhere. I don't think it's a club where he's going to get any stability to build upon and stay maybe 2 seasons. So I don't know. I'm just very pessimistic on what this trajectory will be when he's back from injury. Very tough from him. I don't think he displaces anyone in that starting lineup, or even has a shot at it, really. So moving on right here to the players that we're going to keep on our watch for the week. Who are the 2 guys? We go always with one mainstream player, one that goes under the radar. Who are those names for this week, Braden?
Well, before I give those 2, I'm going to give my Academy Player of the Week, and it's going to go to Makai Joyner, the 18-year-old from St. Louis City's second team. He did make his MLS debut earlier this season, and he's just had an incredible season in MLS Next Pro. 19 goals now on the season, including a brace as we record this tonight, in a 4-2 win in the conference semifinals, both of the goals coming in extra time. He just seems to have the clutch factor, always popping up with huge goals. In the first round of the playoffs as well, he scored a 93rd minute winner to advance them. He's just always there, and even scored. I think actually he scored in both games for the USA U19s. He got his first US youth national team call-up in the last window and impressed there as well. He's just on excellent form right now. Hopefully get some first team involvements next season, but he's a winger that you're going to want to keep an eye on, especially considering the lack of depth we have there for the senior team, of course, but also for the U20s, which is an important cycle we have with the World Cup next year. And so many players being inconsistently in the team due to their clubs or injuries. He's one that you're going to want to keep an eye on. So I'll give a quick shout out to him. And then for my players to watch, for the mainstream, I feel like it kind of has to be Tyler Adams. Finally coming back, playing his first minutes for Bournemouth in that crazy 1-1 draw they had with Aston Villa, scoring the last minute winner. Obviously not him, but Bournemouth did, or equalizer, I should say. Incredible game. And who else do they play this weekend but Man City? Incredible fixture. And I don't know how much minutes he's going to play, especially coming back from an injury against one of the best teams in the world. But if he does play, if the pressure is going to be on, every touch he has is going to have to be perfect. And honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. We need to see what this guy has. He's going to be called up hopefully to his first camp under Poch in November, and hopefully he can come back into the squad and set a tone, lead by example as he did in the World Cup. And then for my sleeper pick, it's not anyone who's going to necessarily fight for a USMNT spot these days, but I'm going to give a quick shout out to Dwayne Holmes, because he actually scored his first goal of the season this past week, midweek against Norwich, got the start, was on the bench, surprisingly, over the weekend, but I think that means he could be in line for a start midweek in the Carabao Cup against Arsenal, which would be a huge marquee matchup. And I mean, if he impresses against Arsenal, it doesn't really mean much for the USMNT, but it's always nice to see an American playing against big teams. So I'll give him a shout out. Watch that game if you can. It'll be cool to see him play against one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm curious to watch that match, really. I mean, Arsenal always have the capability to bottle it, as they say, in any competition. So maybe, hey, that'll be nice. But moving on right here to my picks. For my mainstream one, he's not really the biggest name, but I'm going to have to pick Gianluca Buzio. I thought that over this weekend, he really could have done a lot more to help Venezia on what should have been a rare win against Monza, but now derby time. They're going to be hosting Udinese. That's a derby. Those are Venezia's rivals. And I think that Buzio needs to pick it up a little bit. He has some good moments here and there. Every game he has good moments, but I just think he fluctuates too much throughout the match, a little bit inconsistent. He wants to be called up and considered for the A team, which I think honestly he might earn that. Really, I mean Musa playing as an eight, I think him and Musa have a comparable level. He needs to show up in this game at the Penzo. He usually does well. It's a derby game, must win for Venezia. Points are coming in really rare these days. Missed an opportunity this week, has to capitalize next week, and he'll be a big, hopefully, a big part of that. And for the pick of a player that's a little bit under the radar. He's not really under the radar. I think he's coming up, and most people are turning eyes just because of his club. It's Dortmund. It's going to be Cole Campbell. I don't know if he's going to play. It's the DFB poll call, so maybe he gets some minutes there. I could see it, really. And I don't know. I just feel like Shaheen really likes him from the interviews and from what Campbell says as well. It would be nice to watch him get some minutes. I think if he is going to get any opportunity anytime soon with more than garbage time, 5 minutes here and there, it may be in the DFB poll call. Hopefully they destroy them in the first half and he gets a nice look in the second one. But those are our picks for the week. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this weekend and the week as well, midweek action that we had for the USMNT players. Any of these picks that stand out for you guys that you guys would like to ask for, we'll do our best to comment and respond to everyone. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.